turning back.
Welcome
Here we
back.
are, back again.
Back again, trying to get in the rhythm.
Yeah.
Find a new
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah. Your new normal and your new how we're going to do things. We're back to just podcasting every other week, which is good.
Yeah.
Creating content and getting back to the thing that we love the most, which is hanging out and training and being around each other and being around the mat, our friends.
Yeah.
Tonight was fun. Tonight was fun. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks for your help today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Those kids are fun. Those girls, man. Those girls.
Gosh, dude, that's insane, huh?
Dude, the one,
two are the
her
gangsters.
face,
Oh,
she'd snarl, and I could tell she was getting in the other girls'
Those two
head.
are gangster.
Yeah.
We had for my classes on Thursday, they're really, really long. You were able to see what I go through with like those two classes. I always, Mike and I talk about it a lot because he teaches Wednesday day, then teaches Wednesday all kids classes, and then Wednesday night. And by the time we usually get him on Wednesday night, he's pretty beat up from teaching. It's just a lot, right? And so my Thursdays, I go to work, and then I come in and I teach that 4 o'clock class, which is the little guy's class. And it takes every bit of your CPU unit to stay engaged, to not lose your patience, to laugh, to keep them interested, because it's so boring for them. Some of those kids have been there doing the same thing. You could see that Jackson kid, he's just like, oh, we have to do this again. But it's like, yeah, we have to do this until it's almost damn near perfect, right?
Yeah.
And then you have young kids. Reeve is 4, if that.
Yeah.
And he was one of the better listeners of the group, right?
Yeah.
And so my brain has to stay engaged. But then that next class comes in, and they're so fun. They're so good to me. They're such cool kids. But the two girls were going at it, and I made them stay in for every round, because no submissions, and they went at each other every round.
Time.
No back down, no backing down from each other, and just going at each other. And I was like, okay, no submission, okay, you're back in, you're still in,
keep going.
And what a fun little group of kids, you know. And then the adults come in, and then your brain has to turn on for adults, and we have a curriculum on some of those nights where you're like, we have to cover these things. We have to make sure that we cover them. And I think that I'm getting better at the adults being engaged in what I'm teaching. I
think you did great tonight. I think you did great. I really enjoyed the class. Like, it was good. It was good, like, little refresher. Like, I know we learn that white to blue all the time. And in a lot of ways, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I felt that same way as those little kids. You're like, oh, we're doing the white to blue again. Oh, we're doing headlock escapes again. But, like, it makes sense, right? Like, you've ever been in any sort of conflict, right? You realize that, like, pretty quickly your brain goes to, like, fight or flight and the mush. And so if you haven't learned to regulate that part of your system, if you haven't learned to kind of breathe through the initial feelings, you're stuck in reaction mode.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have the opportunity to kind of higher level think. And that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu.
It is.
And
we've talked about this before, that like sometimes, you know, where jiu-jitsu has gone on social media, I'm not a big fan of it. You know, I love watching the old school guys. I love watching the new school guys. I like I like some of the stuff that they do, but all the drama and the bullshit that they bring to the table, and all the personalities and all the like social media bullshit, I'm not a fan of it, you know. And it turns me off from social media, because I'm like, I don't care to engage in things like that, right? Like, I'm not a jiu-jitsu to be a person, right? A personality. The problem is I have a big personality, right? Everybody at the academy knows who Danny is, right? But I hope what they know is that I preach self-defense, staying healthy, and staying on the mats as long as you can, and focusing on that, and when you have things that you went through, like, get back to the mat, because then you're going to be so much happier tonight.
I know.
And how we do things, you know, and when at the end of the day, our bodies change, our minds change, everything changes when you surrender to something like that, to a discipline, right? Everything changes. The way you outlook and things, it changes.
And it's easy to, like, once you break the streak of going, like, in my specific case, right? Like, not being on the mat, you're completely demotivated. I'm starting from ground zero.
Sure.
I'm starting from ground zero, building that habit over again.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because jiu-jitsu is a passion of mine. Like, I've enjoyed it on multiple levels. People always ask me, like, why jiu-jitsu? And I'm like, Mentally, it was the best thing for me. Physically, it's completely changed my body. And then we're not even talking about like the benefits of just kind of regulating the nervous system, knowing how to defend myself,
Sure.
right? Like it's all of these things combined. The community that
how stoked was everybody to see you today?
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was awesome. I loved it.
It's exactly what you needed.
Yeah, I felt like after being at home, I'm kind of now to this point where I'm off a cycle of treatment, and for what it's worth, like I should be like normal right now, right? I'm not, but like I have nothing. No draws on my time from a treatment standpoint. I only need to kind of just rest and kind of, like I said, learn to live in this new normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's a big, because jiu-jitsu was such a big part of your life and how you were regulating and self-regulating and not having it's like that longing for something. Right?
Yeah.
And you have longings for things like, learning. I've been really, really thinking about like learning, like constantly learning, putting myself in positions where I'm always learning, never taking like I got this role.
Yeah.
Like I have this, I've got this down. Even at work, like, the last couple of weeks I've been like, no, just learn, just like be in a learning state at all times. Don't ever feel like you've got things figured out.
Yeah.
And how do we do that? How as men do we stay in that learning state when your life is and your family requires you to be the leader all the time, the pack leader?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu, right? It forces you to constantly be learning, because the minute you think that you know or you have it all, a Craig Jones pops up or a Gordon Ryan pops up, right? And they make the fool of you.
And what's funny is along those topics is that those guys, it seems like sometimes that they're always changing academies, always changing things in their life. And so then is it the reality that they are talented and they're young and they're like got this ability, right? But do they have it figured out enough to be in a learning state for themselves, right? But because it always seems like they're at a different academy. They're never never with a place longer than a couple years. Yeah. You have all the drama that happens with all those big personalities where Mike and I were talking about it yesterday, and you figure that guy's been at the same place with the same thing for 12, 13 years, right? And it sometimes, it seems like the academy is pretty small. But maybe that's the way you like it. Maybe that's why. It's because there's so much loyalty and so much, like, we give so much to each other. We want to be good friends and partners to each other. Yeah. It would be hard to walk into that. Yeah. As an outsider.
Yeah. Oh, I can only imagine. I wonder, like, how do you handle, like, when you come into some new information that conflicts with perhaps how you've previously seen the world?
Yeah,
I'm wondering, because I've dealt with this situation recently in my school studies. Right, we're studying the difference between modernist and postmodernist kind of therapeutic models. And what's interesting is that I see these two models, and I'll explain them here in a sec. They really do kind of reflect back to me kind of the current state of affairs.
Sure.
So modernist would kind of be a view of the world that, there's kind of absolute truth. The therapist is kind of a authority figure. They have a particular set of skills. They will treat a presenting problem with a specific treatment, right? You'll do X, Y, and Z. Whereas a postmodernist there's no singular truth. Everybody's truth is their truth.
Is yours. Sure.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, I've had a lot of, like, growing up LDS, I'm really deconstructing some of this stuff for a couple of reasons. One is I see, we see things like DEI, right? Diversity, equality and inclusion.
Yeah.
Right. Forever, that's been like a huge thing. And I'm like, for me, DEI was never very principled, right? Because when you put somebody on a pedestal and you say this person deserves this because previously they haven't had it, you're doing the exact thing that you don't want people to do.
Right. Well, and it's and interesting enough, like for all intents and purposes, like, you know, I'm a person of color, right? And so people like give DEI as far as like for myself, but I, in my personal belief, right?
Yeah,
I don't believe that I've gotten anything because of my color.
So here's I mean, that's fascinating, because I was going to ask this question as well. There are women that are feminists.
For sure.
There are women that aren't feminists.
Agreed.
Are there men that are not included as part of the patriarchy?
I would say yes. I would say that there are men that don't know what it's like to be a patriarchal figure.
Right.
Patriarchal figure.
So,
because let's say that my wife is the breadwinner.
Right.
Right. And my wife makes the money.
Right.
Right. And she, for all intents and purposes, gets to make a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say you as a man have to take a backseat role
Right.
to your wife who makes the money. Then let's say she says, no, you can make the decisions. Mm-hmm. Then it feels like, oh, you're giving me the ability to make. Yeah. Like, oh, you're giving that to me, right? So let's say a gay couple,
right?
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, how can they be patriarchal if there's no children involved?
Right. Well, I mean, you would say that they've benefited from, you know, being males in a male-dominated world, and I'm with you. I agree. I don't know that, like, feminist or not, I don't think that women would agree.
Yeah.
I would be surprised. I mean, I have not surveyed any women. I'm not here to speak for women, but
Sure.
I kind of get this impression from what I see in the nightmare that is social media, in the nightmare that is kind of the dating scene that's out there, that there's a lot of women that are coming emboldened in like the feminist movement, and from my perspective, I see feminism. For me, feminism is to women what the patriarchy is to men.
Sure.
And so,
and so like let's say there's a woman, you know, and I don't, and my own, you know my views on things, right? I have a very strong opinion about things, and I don't want to turn people off of how I feel.
Sure.
Because my opinions are very strong about certain things. Right. But to be a feminist doesn't mean that you have to have testosterone and to beat your chest.
Right.
As soon as you start doing that, that's a different energy.
Yeah.
Right. But to have beliefs and have strong beliefs and have strong values in what a woman's role is.
Yeah.
Can be very feminist. And I believe in that. In that. Same thing with patriarchal.
Yeah.
I believe that you can be strong as a man. Mm-hmm. And know your role, right?
Yeah.
And to understand that, like, there's some people that are going to run at the fire, mm-hmm. and there's going to be some people that sit back and make sure that everybody stays behind the fire lines. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We all have our jobs to do, right? Yeah. And again, my opinions are very strong about certain things. Yeah. With the way social media and the way that platforms allow you to voice your opinion without any kind of reprimand or any kind of back talk or any kind of, like, let's say I have a different opinion and then you raise your voice, I raise my voice, you raise your voice, but we're doing it on a keyboard. Right. There's a difference there. That's a different. If we're standing in front of each other, I'm like, we wouldn't be talking like that to each other if we were standing in front of each other. Yeah. Yeah. Even sometimes, like, you know, with my relationships with certain women, mm-hmm. it's like, you're not allowed to talk to me like that. Yeah. And I'll be very blunt, like, hey, I can't talk to you in the same way. Right. Right. Because then your husband has to get involved. And now me and your husband have conflict all over the fact that you chose to take a tone with me or say words to me that I don't agree with. Yeah. And I would not reciprocate back to you. Right. And I try to say that very calmly. And sometimes I come off as chauvinistic. Right. As that women don't get a voice. Right. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we have different roles in life.
Well, and I think out of respect, right? Like you wouldn't necessarily like, I wouldn't corner somebody's wife. I wouldn't corner Misty and like, you know what I mean? Or chew her ass or like, you know what I mean? I keep it pleasant. I'm kind. If she needs help with something, I'd help her. But like my relationship is with you. And by extension of my relationship with you,
agree.
I honor her role in your life, but I'm not like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not there to like.
We've had an incident where people have reached out to me over certain people, and I had to remind them, like, hey, but it's not cool to me. Like, you're not allowed to talk to me like that about this person, because you should probably talk to my wife about that, not me, because I'm going to have a different tone than my wife. And that extension of like, I value who you are. Yeah. So remember that, but I don't personally live in that world where we get to talk to each other like that. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially between men and women's relationship.
Yeah. When I would agree, we can
you were saying.
Yeah, we can have civil discourse, right? We can have a civil discourse, but there is a boundary that probably needs to be drawn, and I don't want the perception of that boundary being violated in any way. On my own accord or yours. My own things, and so then you think about like some of those personalities and some of those things that come out on keyboard or like they're talking, and I'm thinking, would you say that if we were sitting across from each other? And then if I said something back to you, are you okay with my how passionate I am about what I believe, how I believe, and my wife understands how I believe. My wife understands that about me, and sometimes she'll say, whoa, you're coming off pretty aggressive and pretty chauvinistic, and I'll have to rethink. And sometimes if I'm in a mood, I'll be like, well, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. That's the way I think. That's the way I believe. There is a first principle rule, right? Like we can be what I think we've tried to do as a society is really, we've tried to legislate equality. And I get it. Sometimes if something is so out of balance, you may need to step in and correct the balance so things become more balanced. But I think if you continue to poke at it, it will ultimately slide the other way. And so we've created all these rules, and we've tried to create a universal truth for everybody via these rules. Meanwhile, we're all trying to say, look at me, I'm equal, I'm different, accept my view. No, look at my view. Your view doesn't matter. My view, right? Like, and that's kind of what I see in these in some of these communities, right? Like I don't have a problem with somebody's sexual orientation or their desire to transition genders. I don't. What you do with your life is you on you. It's when you now start forcing me, when you tell me there is no such thing as universal truth, but you also have to now accept my truth. You now have to start calling me my pronouns, but universal. There's no universal truth.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this before, that you and I don't practice those at home.
No,
we don't practice that kind of like, we are kind, we are genuine, we are like, I accept you for who you are. Yeah. But I do not practice some of these things at home that you're requiring of me. Same with you. You're like I don't. I if you look like a duck, you're a duck.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's just the way my life is, right? And we practice those things. And so how when you think about like going back to your original bringing up this topic, would you consider yourself modern or postmodern? Oh, and when you're studying, do you see yourself as like, this would be really weird if I got somebody that I didn't, a client that I'm like, I don't know how to deal with you because we're different. We have different ideas.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things, right? One of the reasons I decided to kind of go with marriage and family therapy is because I was excited, not necessarily excited by the idea, but I felt like I needed the credential. I felt like I needed the credential because the credential helped add credibility.
I see.
And basically what I'm learning in school is that like really in a postmodern world, like it's not important.
Sure.
What's important is being able to hold space, and I can see benefits for both. Because the last thing I would want to do, and only because I've had great therapists myself, the last thing I would want to do is just continue to get somebody stuck in their confirmation bias.
Oh, sure.
And I feel like in the world at large today, we are doing that.
Well, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that like you feel like you have to validate a lot of validation really matters right now.
Yeah.
Like validating things. Like, you know me, the way that I deal with my boys and children. Like, if your feelings are upset, like sometimes I don't validate your feelings.
Yeah.
You know, I don't validate you.
Well, you shouldn't.
Hey, we got to move on from this. Let's move on. Right. But when we go and we validate all little tiny things and we give, you know, young children the ability to make decisions quickly on something that could affect their life not today, but 15 years from now, but I'm validating it right now.
Yeah.
We give almost a loaded weapon to them.
Yeah.
And you know, validation really, it does matter sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But there's times when it's got to be like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's no, that's not the way you think about it. No, you're thinking about it wrong. No, you're approaching this wrong. And strong male figures sometimes have to say, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, that's not the way life is.
Yeah.
No, be tougher.
And it's okay to take a stance and come back to it and say, oh, I've changed my mind, or I've got new information.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, like having a pillow in a hand, right?
Yeah.
Like having a pillow, like having a pillow, like having somebody that you can go to and being a pillow and being like, man, I need some comfort right now.
Yeah.
But then sometimes there comes the hand because life is tough sometimes.
Yeah.
And as a single father, sometimes you've got to pick and choose whether you're the pillow in the hand. Because you've said before, with the girls, you tend to be sometimes a pillow. With Ben, it's like, there's no way.
Yeah.
No, your job is to be the hand.
Yeah.
Right. And Ben can go to his mom for the pillow.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I think validation comes in lots of forms. And I think like modern ways of looking at things to you and I, because of where we stand, I always believe this. If you have a religious background, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
You're going to still feel those religious ideologies and ties.
Yep.
Even if you do not believe in the religion, you believe in what God said and what he has preached. In some way or form, you believe that God put you here for a purpose.
Yeah.
As a man.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
Whether you believe it or not. You believe it or not. Like, there's nothing you can do. You could denounce as much as you want, and in the back of your mind, no, that's probably not how I feel.
Yeah, it's so
You know?
It's so interesting. I don't know if you've watched any of the Lives of Mormon House, like the True Lives of Mormon House. It's absolute garbage TV. And I've only watched it because I come from that space and I hear these people. There's an episode in this second season where one of the influencers is talking with her mother and her father, and they're all very active in the Mormon church. And they're talking about how this young lady now has a child with a dude she had a one night stand with that, you know, kind of developed into this really toxic relationship that's been kind of the center of the TV show. And the dad storms out and he basically yells, he's yelling at the daughter, "You slept with him after 3 days. What does that say about you?" And he storms out of the room. And so like, if you get on then social media, all the post-Mormon people that are like, they're saying, "Oh, what a fucking asshole this guy is. This is the patriarchy." And I'm like, I mean, in a way, I kind of agree. He could have worded it better, right? Like he probably shouldn't have told his daughter that. At the same time, like he's only describing her actions.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't want to be rude, but at the same time, like if you don't like how people are going to describe that or talk about it, then why are you doing it?
Then don't do it.
Yeah.
And it comes down to like our moral compass and our moral values.
Right.
Right. There's nothing we can do about that. There's literally nothing we can do about it. We can fight it all we want. We can denounce it as much as we want. Wake up the next day and still realize we have those moral compasses. We have those moral values.
Right.
And when people take it out of context, or like if I say something to you and it's from my own moral grounds, And the other part is judgmental. That's where people like take it the wrong way, is like it comes off as judgmental, right? Like you know me, like I do have a strong faith in certain things, but I also believe a lot of other things, and I also like take a lot of other things into account before I pass judgment on people.
Right.
I also don't preach my own testimony.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like that's one thing that I struggle with LDS people.
Yeah.
Is it's like they always have a testimony. They always have a testimony. You always have, this is my testimony. And I think, okay, I get that. But you also have lots of vices, lots of sins that go against whatever you're saying on your testimony. Yeah. You know, and that's why I don't proselytize.
It's interesting because I see that, right, and I've definitely been a part of that, and I've definitely proselytized. You know what I mean, like for that particular group, and I've had to step back, and I have gotten really comfortable and really okay with not knowing the truth. It's so freeing to be able to say, I don't know, and I don't have to know what the truth is. That's the problem. We're hung on this truth. You know, the concept of truth is where I've really kind of been tumbling. And that's why I bring up this postmodernist, modernist kind of theme for today, because it comes down to truth. What is truth? Yeah. If you're telling me there is no absolute truth, there's only subjective truth, then is that really truth?
Yeah.
Because truth to me is universally accepted. Sure. And it's universally accepted so that we can live in a world that is a little bit more peaceful, that has a little bit more rules, right? The universal truth would be that the speed limit out in front of my house is whatever it is, 35 miles an hour, right? And we all agree to it. We not always follow the rules. We'll do our best, but the universal accepted truth is that it's 35, and we get along as a society in general when people kind of obey and go by those rules.
Sure.
I mean, that's just kind of one example that I've been kind of stewing on.
You know what's funny for me for truth, when I hear truth?
Yeah.
I always think about math.
Oh, yeah.
I always think of like math, like how to get to how math and all of these formulas and all of these principles and all these things, and they always talk about the truths of that, and that always like I think about like how many branches can grow off of like math, like anything to do with math, and like
that's interesting. You're absolutely right. No matter how you do, there's always one answer. Formulas,
and I do this formula for this, and I need to do this order of operations for this, and I think about math. But then what that does is it boils me down to like how I live my day-to-day life is my truths. My truths these are my truths, and that's again why, you know, sometimes like I'll be like, Tyler, no. Like you have to live like this. And sometimes I'm pretty passionate about like things that I see and that I want for my friends, because I tell them to myself, you know, I tell them those truths to myself. And lately we've been really working on our relationship with God, and really, really, really working on our relationship with God. And some people shared a couple podcasts with me, and I just felt like it was right at the right time, right at the right moment of where my relationship with God was, and how rooted I actually am in religion and how I believe, you know, and how I live my day-to-day life. But people always, you know, if you get super, 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 nope, this is the way it is. Nope, this is the way it is. Then they challenge you, right?
Yeah.
Then you get angry and you get frustrated. But even if I get challenged, I don't honestly mind, because whatever you believe is what you believe. Right. Whatever I believe is what I believe, and how I believe is just my own personal truth.
When it's that self-awareness into your own, am I acting on a confirmation bias, right? Right. And you've kind of mentioned that you do this, and I didn't call it out at that point, but like we all do this, right? We develop opinions from where we believe truth to be in our lives.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right. And so it's the true awareness. You know, if somebody's bringing me something, am I responding with a confirmation bias, or do I have the self-awareness to say, I may hold this other principle true or different than what they are telling me, but I'm able to kind of hold space and allow them to speak their truth, even though it conflicts with my truth.
Right. And I think like for you and I, because we do so much work with other people, you know, and since we're still working on ourselves and we're still like work in process, work in progress. We're still living. We're still like, we're every day you could find something new that you're like, actually, yeah, my mind changes. I kind of believe like that. I kind of believe like that. Or it could reground you to some of your things that you did prior to while you were, you know, there's a lot of things that come from LDS that you may go, actually, I don't mind that. I actually believe that.
Right.
You know,
I
may not believe it to the point of I'm going to prophesize or I'm going to testimony about it. But I may believe it, you know, and when we work with men and we work with people, our job is not to really give our own personal ideologies. We want to give roundabout things, but like you're really listening to them and helping them find their path, right, in their course.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, I don't believe any single fucking thing that you're saying. But you're gonna get to your truth.
Yep.
Whether it's modern or postmodern.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part for me is sometimes is like when I'm talking to people who have some very modern ideologies.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I got to wrap my head around what you're saying because I don't want to, like, my facial features may come off as super fucking judgy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's so funny because I actually went on a date and like had this conversation about the transgender issue.
Oh, sure.
And I had to check myself, and I'm all for having civil discourse. I'm never going to I probably, you know, things may get heated, but I probably won't ever let you get me too out of balance, right? That's been my goal. But I thought of the kind of the common analogy. Do you know what Pluto is?
The planet?
Is it a planet?
You know, I actually don't know if it is or not.
It was a planet when I was growing up. Like we did.
Yeah,
it was a planet.
Yeah, it was the planet.
We found out recently, is like in like 2000 something or other, that it's like it's not. It's like a dwarf star or something.
Star. Yeah,
right.
Or that's their idea that it's a star.
Their idea. It's using the scientific method. Right. It was a planet until some new information came in and changed it. Did Pluto change? No.
Yeah,
Pluto did not.
View of it did.
Our understanding of
our view,
definition of people changed. So why haven't we applied that same logic to gender? What is the purpose of gender?
Well, it describes who you are in my own opinion.
Sure. And I don't want to put you on the spot here, but like when I think of like, I like to think in terms of first principles, and first principles is a way of breaking down big complex problems into the smallest portion of the problem. And so for me, I ask myself, what is the first principle of gender? Well, in the current use of gender, the first principle would be the propagation of the species. So in order for the human species to progress or to continue to survive, we have to pass on our genes to the next generation. And we do that through the male and female species. The second principle would be, okay, I'm in a medical scenario and I'm about to provide you some medication that could potentially be impacted by your gender assigned at birth.
Your chemical makeup.
Right. So has gender changed, or does the definition that we're using to describe gender need to change? Because I'm all for you being a they, them, Zerzy, Zix, whatever, but I think we need to make sure that we're having the same conversation, because I truly believe that one party is not having, they're arguing over the definition of a word. Gender, I don't believe has changed. Our need to propagate our species has not changed.
Sure.
Right. And gender may be fluid and there may be multiple quote unquote genders depending on how you look at the science. But the reality is at the very core of what I believe gender to be is that biological need to procreate the species. So
and I believe that you can describe yourself however you want to describe yourself. Sure. I don't care.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you are either a boy or a girl.
Sure.
One way or the other.
Right.
And in my opinion, my personal faith is that God put you into a capsule.
Right.
And you chose, you get to choose.
Yeah.
When you're my personal opinion is that you choose your parents, you choose your life, and you choose to be either a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
And modernization and people's thoughts and how we give the key to like your own, be who you are, be what you want to be, do this. It's like, yeah, you should. Yeah.
Right.
Do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, God did give you, you and God came together with this together.
Yeah.
And again, I have that personal belief. It's my personal belief. And if we talk about it, if you want to fight your opinion, I will give you 100% space and I will never raise my voice. I won't try to tell you that you're wrong. I won't treat you any different.
Right.
I won't treat you any different.
Right.
As long as you don't treat me any different.
Right.
Right. And that to me is the cool part of learning, growing, being a vehicle for people who need that clarification and that space of like, man, your mind could be super chaotic.
Right.
Let's calm it down just a tiny bit,
Yeah.
And for you, for that whole idea of how do we modern and postmodern?
Yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Yeah.
Like, especially like if you're aggressive about, DEI, Doge, Tesla. I hate Trump. I hate Biden. I hate this. It's like, yeah, okay.
Right.
Why?
And
did it really impact your life that much?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it really impacting your life that much?
Right.
Or are you just I'm standing firm in the fact that somebody gave me a platform to be strong and to be, and this is the only time I could be strong. So I hate insert whatever the fuck you want to insert.
Right. 99% of the time, people are just projecting their view of the world on you. And so that's why I think that like the concept of like, don't try to sell me this is the new truth when it's your perception of the truth.
I agree.
We can't say that there is no such thing as universal truth while mandating that other people live by our definition of truth.
I agree.
And I'm not, I think this has been a very interesting conversation, right? Where like we're dancing kind of on this, we're dancing on this fault line, right? Where we have a fissure between us as a human species. It's left, it's right. It's advocate or it's non-advocate. It's the patriarchy, it's feminism. It's everything seems to come down to just an A or B Boolean decision. And I'm like, well, again, we go back to first problem. What is the first problem? It's either, is there truth or is there not truth?
Right.
What does truth look like?
I also believe that you and I personally are able to dance around that fault line personally, just because we help, because we are, our job, our principles, our what we are put on this earth to do is to help people.
Yes.
So we also don't want to stand on our firm boundaries and our firm lines and turn off potential people who may not agree with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But if you really wanted to get down to the nitty gritty of it, like, I have my truth.
Yeah.
I do have my truth.
Right.
And even if you got upset with me, even if you told me that I was wrong, even if you screamed in my face, spit in my face, told me I was a piece of shit, it wouldn't change a single thing of how I believed. Not one single thing. I wouldn't change a single thing. I don't. My influences come from learning,
Yeah.
From talking, from trusting, and from absorbing factual relationships.
Yes.
Factual things. Yes. Factual things. Like when we talk, when we have deep sauna sessions, when we have deep sessions, when we have, all right, let's all get super drunk on tequila and beer, have Misty cook us kick-ass food, sit out by 2 different fires, and let's fucking talk.
Yeah.
And we all walk away from there. Nobody upset.
No.
Everybody believing in each other, and how beautiful was that?
Yeah.
We literally, it was amazing that night.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was, yeah.
And we're talking about the other night. We had a big party at my house, and tequila was flowing, beer was flowing.
The food was delicious.
Food was delicious, and not one voice was raised. Not one person got upset. But there was some deep, heavy conversations at times.
Yeah.
Where we were like, wow, this is heavy.
Yeah.
You know, we were all able to like talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes talk over each other, and
but this is how drunk people are. I mean, but I think that's where we need to get to, right? Like, how do we figure out how to get back to a place of balance and civil discourse?
And who cares if we don't believe and don't agree with each other,
right?
But let's love each other.
Why do I have to be? Well, I mean, I understand, like I'm starting to come to an understanding that like when we look at this projection that people have, I have to be right. When they are so adamant about being right, they are protecting something in themselves.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
this is my box.
I'm insecure in my identity. Like if you are truly secure in your identity, you don't need fucking confirmation.
Agreed.
You're confirming, you're validating yourself.
Right.
Not in a narcissistic way, but in a way that says, I'm solid. I have a solid understanding and knowledge of who I am. I have a self-esteem and a self-worth that I can carry through difficult conversations. Yeah, I don't need to become dysregulated. I don't need to shout. I don't need to, I can
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah.
I can have a conversation, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Or if we're in a disagreement and we disagree, we just disagree, and we see it differently. Yeah. Or perhaps I'm right. I don't need to rub it in your face. I don't need to win. It doesn't need to be me versus you.
Sure.
In an argument. What does that really do?
Well, and especially now with the actual point of there needs to be a winner. There needs to be there needs to be somebody who's right.
Right.
There does come a point where you're like, I don't know if I care enough.
Right. I see it as that the need to be right is a bill of goods that perhaps capitalism has sold us based on the idea that there's not enough of scarcity, right? There's scarcity in this world. There's not enough.
Sure.
You know what I mean? If we were really to kind of get outside of that, the concept of there's not enough, because when you create a sense of urgency through scarcity, people are more likely to buy.
Right.
Sure. Oh, I've only got this one Jeep left. You go to the car dealership. Yeah. We've only got this one model left, and it's this color is the color you want, right? They create this scarcity for you, so it drives your compulsive buying behavior. Yeah. And we do that on a grander scale. I think we're seeing that almost weaponized in the political arena.
Yeah.
The social media arena. Like sure. we weaponize
relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, how often have you personally thought the grass is greener? The grass is greener. You know? Yeah. I mean, there are times when I thought like the grass was greener.
Yeah.
But then I had to reground myself and be like, no, fuck that.
You know where the grass is greenest? Where you fucking water it. Yeah.
Where you fertilize it.
Yeah.
Where you put effort fucking into it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have hard conversations and you get a patch that maybe dies and you've got to repair that patch, right?
And I think like for you, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
you're good.
but our you and I sometimes we sometimes come off as flippant or non-caring or like we don't give a shit. But it's not that. It's just that I want you to understand that you have your own space.
Yes.
And whatever I believe doesn't have to change who you are as a person.
Yes.
And whatever you believe doesn't have to change me.
Right.
My job, my personal job is not to change you.
Yeah.
It's to guide you and to encourage you to
Right.
be
Right.
be better, and to not find the new toy that's so much better, or the new idea that's so much better, or the new principle that's so much better. Because I promise you, you know what's going to happen? You're going to fall back to that concrete principle that was there before.
Yep.
The concrete principle, the concrete foundation that was there before. And when you, it is an interesting conversation, and you can go in different directions with it, because I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want you to think that like I'm this chauvinistic pig. And live this life of like, no, I fuck up all the time. I fuck up. I say stupid shit.
Yeah.
I do stupid shit.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes like my wife is like, knock it the fuck off.
Yeah.
Like you should hear how you're talking. And I'm thinking, I don't hear how I'm talking.
Right. And it's okay. You can put me in check. Yeah. You can put me in check. Yeah. I'm okay with that. At the same time, like, what is the thing? Stand for nothing and you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the thing. There does need to become a point where
I'm an oak tree.
As a man, I don't know if this is necessarily as true for women, like the need to be this, but as a man, I might need to take a stand.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
I might need to take a stand.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that the stand has to be I'm right or wrong. I'm taking a stand because it is atypically more of a, I don't even know if I want to say it that way now that I'm saying it out loud. But like there is a level of authority. There's a level of you seem weaker as a man if you don't have an opinion,
or if your opinion changes constantly.
If you're constantly flip flopping, right?
No, I believe. No, yeah, you're right. No, yeah, you're right. And you're like, what? I could tell you anything,
right? And I think that's probably why we obviously we have this platform, the podcast, we share a lot. I tend to be probably an overshare in a lot of cases.
How many times have we gotten a text message or an email that said, this is really what you're doing? And you're like, oh,
yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
That is not what I meant.
Right. Or to like leave the hospital and like talk to some of the people I've been at the hospital, and then like they know more about me than I like realized that I told them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I shared all that with you.
Yeah. You and I are open books.
Yeah.
We are so open books. And it's good because like the conversation can continue on and on and on. But it's funny because I don't believe that in any way, shape, or form we've changed who we are, our values.
No.
I think we stand by who we are. I think we stand united sometimes of like, no, we're going to stand. We have to make this stand in this decision because we are patriarchal.
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah.
I'm a I know I am. I know that. I know for a fact that sometimes my boys tell me nothing I do is enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
It's just you can do more.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's it in itself. That in itself is what I'm trying to tell you. And it's like, no, I get it. Yeah, I get that. I get that. Yeah, there has to be a head. There has to be the person that's the head. And my wife is she has some feminist values. She does. And I encourage some of those things.
Sure.
I encourage some of them. And then there's other times when I have to remind her, like, what you're doing is taking a stance that I have to defend. And if I don't believe in what you're saying, then I'm not going to defend you, but I will defend you personally.
Yeah. Right. Right. And I sure as hell don't want to be called up for a war that you've started on a topic I don't necessarily.
You know my wife.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. I don't think there's anything wrong inherently with being a feminist. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with being patriarchal or masculine, right? Like where we become out of balance is when the very fact that we are out of balance.
Sure.
The very fact that we cannot sit and the idea would be a yin and a yang, right? There's a reason why the male and the female fit together like fucking Lego pieces, right? And when you look at our physical bodies, you have to understand that our mental models are similar. They lock together similarly, and we have to find that transcendent plane where we meet.
Sure.
We cannot personalize our feminism. We cannot personalize our our patriarchy into something toxic for our partner.
No, I agree.
Right.
Yeah, that's a cool way to put it. Yeah, that's a cool way to wrap around, because then it definitely leaves open more context and more ways of looking at things.
Right.
And I'm sure that we'll get a lot of feedback sometimes about what we talked about tonight.
Yeah.
And I think we both have agreed that we're going to use our platform to entice some conversation and entice, people's questioning who we are as people, because we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
And we're not going to shy away from subjects, context, or who we are as people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like 100%, I have your back.
Yeah.
You have my back.
Yeah.
But we also know that we'll protect those around us however we see fit.
Right. And I think that there's some ideas that are worth protecting.
Sure.
And sometimes you need to put you stretch your neck out a little bit for those ideas. Yeah. I will add that we've built this platform really with the concept that men don't get they don't seek the mental help that they need from time to time, right? Yeah. We're building a common unity of men that build stronger men, not just for our generation, but the next generation to come. I believe in so doing that it will benefit feminist, non-feminist, Zers, X, whatever, by creating men who are more confident in who they are. They don't need the self-protectionism of breaking that shit down. If that's what people want to believe,
sure,
we'll go about living our purpose. But we built this platform additionally to if we could stop one person from harming themselves.
Agreed.
And we primarily have focused on men, but I would add that the same rings true if I knew somebody was struggling, and this happens all the time, coming out as gay or whatever in the Mormon church. There are people that struggle so much that they end up killing themselves over it because they cannot fit in.
Yeah.
They can't fit into the model. It's the model that they're trying to fit in is so rigid and closed that they just don't fit in, and so they harm themselves. And for me, that's not okay either. Mm-hmm. That's not okay either. It would be helping them shepherd themselves to a place of safety and realizing perhaps you don't need validation from those people. Perhaps we need to validate ourselves. Mm-hmm. And we need to be happy. And so I'll add them to that list of, hey, if you are seriously considering hurting yourself, reach out. Like, you're struggling. I'll listen. I may not agree, but I'll listen, and I will be a safe space for you.
And you won't even know that I don't agree.
Yeah, you won't.
I will give you so much safe space.
Does not. My opinion does not matter.
Yeah, we talk about this a bunch of times. That, like you said, that one single man. Mm-hmm. If we save that person saves 2, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. Now we're compounding the fact that, like, at the end of the day, men's mental health and having the ability to be strong in your moral compass matters more than agreeing or shying away from conflict.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. And I do want to say that we did lose another young man who's overseas right now. I got a phone call today that another young man took his life, and we don't want that.
No.
And so, we're putting together a couple care packages for the troops that are over there right now and that are dealing with this thing. And so, keep your eyes open, keep your mind open. Remember that there are people over there that are serving that are struggling, right? Mm-hmm. And we need to ensure that men are healthy. Mm-hmm. Men and women are healthy, and we don't need to force feed them bullshit. Mm-hmm. Let's just remember it's okay to have difference of opinions. It's okay to stand on your values, and it's okay to have healthy conflict, right? And so that young man who chose to take that route, we feel for him.
Yeah.
We feel for him. We feel I feel strongly for him because I'm lucky my boys, they feel strong about themselves, and so we want to continue that, and we want to continue to grow that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing this for. We're doing this to continue to grow and to continue to remind men and women that there's something out there that will help you. There's somebody out there that will listen to you.
Yeah.
And so the troops that are over there, and if you want to donate, if you want to give anything, they'll take anything. We're gonna put together the care packages. I'll put together on the Instagram what they need. Yeah. And just donate. I'm gonna put together a couple things.
Yeah. I've done a pretty shitty job keeping the Instagram up and running personally. I just haven't wanted to spend time on social media these days.
It's not, I don't believe it's our platform.
It's really not. It's not, I don't think it's a platform. I don't know. I have so many mixed opinions. Like I think it's great and I think it's terrible all at the same time. Like, but that's a whole nother episode. Man, I really appreciate this conversation. I'm grateful as hell to have you in my life. It was fun. Yeah, just to chat and
today was good. We needed today. We hadn't hung out with each other like that. Yeah. We have plans for the weekend. We're gonna hang out this weekend. We're gonna get together and we have summer camp coming up. We have fights. We have sponsorships available. We have we are constantly trying to build our what we're trying to sell and what we're trying to do for people, which is just overall health, overall well-being, overall trust in what you're doing, and don't take it the wrong way. Don't take what we said the wrong way today. We're passionate. We get going and we talk. This is a lot of times what happens is you would start talking, and luckily for us, most of the time our moral values and compasses align with each other. Yeah. And so we don't ever have to have disagreements. And I'm always grateful about that, because we agree along the same party lines. Yeah.
It really is. And it's I mean, but at the same time, you've also challenged me. You've challenged some of my own beliefs. You've, caused me to spread my wings and stretch a little bit. And I really am grateful for that. Even though I may seem resistant at first, I take a little bit. I take a little bit to warm up to it. I
talking really, on each shoulder. Tyler, you gotta do it. Tyler, go.
Yeah. So grateful for you. So what do you got coming up in the next couple of weeks?
We are working pretty hard with. We have I put together a men's group that you're a part of, that we are, that's growing. I've gotten lots of phone calls and text messages from those guys that are appreciative of it. We are planting at the Okanya household. So nice. I am constantly planting flowers, moving things around that Misty wants. She likes to move flowers around and I try to save them. I try to keep them healthy. Yeah. And that's really honestly there's so much going into summer camp right now that I'm pretty headstrong in that. And then
do you have the dates for camp again?
July 18th, 19th, and 20th. 7 black belt fights, 3 brown belt fights, and they're going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. I think it's going to be a really good camp, summer camp. Lots of people coming in. I'm working a lot. Misty's working a lot because we're going to Mexico soon, and we're the biggest thing that we're trying to do is, like I told you, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to stick around after December at my job, or if I'm going to just call it quits in December and move on to something else. And that's kind of what we're taking in right now.
An exciting new adventure.
And you? Let's see. You have kids are out of school.
Kids are out of school. Tomorrow's the last day.
Let's go.
I'm excited for them. They've worked hard. All of them have got good grades. I will be headed to Denver July 12th through the 15th. I'm going to volunteer at the Tap Out Cancer Jiu-Jitsu tournament there.
Let's go.
My hope is that we will get a Tap Out Cancer tournament here in Salt Lake.
Let's go.
But that's one of my own proclivities. A lot of people don't know this, but like Salt Lake, LDS General actually leads the country in blood-based cancer research, and or like they are the hospital that I was in is literally one of the highest ranked hospitals for blood-borne cancers. And I've been really blessed, not just having insurance. So, a lot of people, having this kind of sickness still end up having major bills. I was the benefactor of a grant that helped pay for a lot of my helping pay for a lot of my medication.
Good.
I surprised myself and made some really good adult decisions at my last open enrollment. So I'm not feeling the financial pressure, but the one thing about being the healthiest person in my unit for that month that I was there is that I witnessed a lot of people that were suffering, and know that things like these grants, things like this money helps them just ease some of that stress. Because if you're stressed and you're trying to recover from cancer,
doesn't happen.
It's just not healthy. And let's be honest, Utah has a great history of jiu-jitsu here.
Sure.
In this valley. I think we benefit really well from having a cool tournament that people could raise awareness with. So I will start raising money for Park City Jiu-Jitsu. So whatever money I end up raising for Park City Jiu-Jitsu will be the Park City Jiu-Jitsu donation that goes to Tap Out Cancer. And then so I'll also be working a scoring booth for the tournament in Denver.
Good for you,
since I kind of have those skills.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, I'm super grateful for this conversation, and we welcome and appreciate any feedback, any concerns, anything that you think that Tyler and I are full of shit on, or that you agree on.
Yeah.
We love that. And if you see Tyler and I around, by all means, like, hit us up, talk to us. We're going to have the bus out over the weekend.
So excited.
We're going to drive around. We're going to be in Park City. We will be on July 5th. We will be at the SUP Festival at Jordanelle. We'll be on the beach. We'll have the bus out. We will be hanging out there. We may be even live broadcasting.
Yeah.
If we can, if you have the day off. July 5th, I'm racing. I'm going to do the race. So if anybody else wants to come out and challenge me, I'm doing the race for that. And we'll be around. The bus will be out. We'll be, I think that we're going to do a couple farmers market. We're going to do a couple flowers, with some people that are going to put their flowers out of the bus, and we'll go hang out there and set up the bus and do that.
That'll be awesome.
I think we got that going on. The summer's going to be fun.
It's here. It's 80 degrees already.
I can't wait.
Okay. Well, cheers, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you guys.